Hey cats, it's Eddbud here. Today I have an initial review for you, a shoe from ASICS, the METASPEED EDGE Paris. Now you guys will know who tune into the channel regularly, I'm a big fan of the sister shoe of this one, the METASPEED Sky Paris. Couple of PBs in that this year, it just seems to work for me. Almost the same shoe here, very similar midsole stack and the same upper, very similar outsole too. Couple of small changes, does it make it a better shoe? Does it work just as well for me as the Sky? Let's find out. Thanks for tuning in, people. It is always appreciated. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you've not done so already. It's free of charge, don't you know? And also give this video a thumbs up like. Drop us a comment as well to help fight the algorithm here on YouTube. Dankeschön. I've got a pair of the METASPEED EDGE Paris here from ASICS. They've sent them over to me for review, but they're not vetting my views before my valued viewers get to see them, and they're not paying me to make this video. So just how different is the METASPEED EDGE Paris to the Sky Paris that released round about the same time? Here's some stats for you first. As you can see, my pair of the METASPEED EDGE Paris weigh a tiny bit more, about 8 grams. I'm going to put that down to production variants. The heel and forefoot stacks are exactly the same as is the drop, of course, and we have the same width in the forefoot and in the heel. Sure, a geometer scale readings exactly the same in the foam and the rubber on this pair as per the Sky. The foam composition here appears to be exactly the same as when I took the METASPEED Sky Paris first out of the box. Now at 100 miles they're quite a bit softer, the pummeling of race pace really making them a bit less rigid. We'll get into the review. Upper first. Upper wise here in the METASPEED EDGE Paris from ASICS, we still have the sublime comfort, the fit, the design. Love those perforated laces that we've got here in this model. Super breathable and very minimal upper here. I would suggest there's as much flex in the toe box material here as per prime period Mr. Motivator. And it looks absolutely fantastic, which means that you probably want to wear it all the time. I love the sunrise and black version of this shoe. It's a stunning flavour and just takes the crown over that new lemon cocktail version they put out recently. The lockdown is absolutely fantastic on this shoe. I haven't felt that the very thin tongue is to the detriment really of the comfort either. Does seem to do the job. It's quite a roomy toe box as well, which could be beneficial if you're into marathon mile mashing. The heel counter here just rigid enough to provide a little bit of structure. I haven't experienced any lace bite at all on this model over my testing so far. Even when using a runner's knot, the laces do tend to get quite close to the edge of the tongue, but ASICS have got it just right. It's super minimal and I will take that over the overtly plush offerings that we've had in some models recently. ASICS just with very subtle improvements to their shoes over the years. I'm not sure you can really improve on this upper. It is one of the best that I've tried out so far on the channel. This is one of the lightest racers up there and I really enjoyed the upper. I'll give it a 3 out of 3 so far for the upper. Midsole, midsole. Midsole now. Midsole wise, it is subtly different to the ride that you get in the METASPEED Sky Paris. The plate position here is a little bit more aggressive. It feels like it's a little bit closer to the floor in the toe box area. So that brings this shoe more in line with something like the Nike VAPORFLY 3. So if that's the type of feel you like in your carbon race shoe, then this one may work for you. Of course, we have a much flatter plate in the METASPEED Sky Paris. That kind of is my preference. I do quite like the trampoline style effect you get in that shoe. Does it feel really that different? I'd suggest over the 17 miles of testing I've done in this one so far, yes, it does respond in a slightly different way. It wants you to kind of roll through your stride from the heel through to the toe. I felt that the METASPEED Sky Paris was a little bit more aggressive. It does feel a little bit more bouncy and exciting, though I think oddly if I was going to run a marathon I'd probably pick this shoe. I think due to the plate the foam does feel strangely firmer here in the METASPEED EDGE Paris. I wouldn't say the effect is hugely drastic though. I can see this certainly working better for its intended use case, people that up their cadence rather than increase their stride length. I think running marathon pace miles, I'm more interested in kind of keeping the cadence a little bit higher and less sort of huge strides to get me over the distance. It certainly felt better for me, this shoe, as I sort of adapted my approach during my testing runs, though perhaps not quite as effective at higher effort levels as the Metaspeed Sky Paris. The compression up front here feels quite different actually. You've got a lot more foam directly underneath your foot. You kind of feel like you're squashing into that a little bit more and then relying on a little bit more toe off as the sort of plate starts to kick in. So I think the plate and the foam here dictate to the runner as to how you should run in it to get the best out of it, whereas the Sky Paris is a little bit more like just go for it. I think the smaller framed, perhaps lighter runners out there may actually benefit from this shoe over the other one. If you want absolute minimum weight and that rolling action, then the Edge Paris is probably for you. In terms of midsole geometry, certainly closer to the VAPORFLY 3, whereas the Metaspeed Sky Paris is a bit more like the AlphaFly 3, and I think that's why I like both of those shoes. So it's like smooth rolling versus bounce, which was your preference? For me, not quite the same feeling of pure joy and excitement as in the sister shoe, but I think it could be a worthy addition to many runners' race arsenal. I'll give this a 2.8 out of 3 for the midsole after my initial runs. Outsole wise, it's very similar here in the Edge Paris versus the Sky Paris. This time out we've got black rubber here, but without that lateral cutout of the rubber where the exposed midsole is there. And oddly, in the heel area, we've got a little bit of exposed midsole here, and we don't have it in the Sky Paris. But aside from that, very similar rubber feel, the formula clearly being the same. I did experience some wear in the forefoot area of the Metaspeed Sky Paris after 100 miles, and I think you'll probably get it here. I had put that shoe aside for like premium training and racing, and it isn't one of the most durable, that's for sure. But with these shoes, you gotta use them or lose them, right? I guess they've included this little cutout here with some exposed midsole in the heel to amplify the squash, as intended, you know, to roll through the stride. But as a race outsole, I think it's fantastic for road and pavement. Works very well in the wet weather as well. Wet and dry conditions, it is one of the best I've tested over the last few years. Just don't expect magic durability in this one. There is always a trade-off between lighter weight and durability. I'll give this one a 2.9 out of 3 as per the Metaspeed Sky Paris for the outsole. Value now. So these retail for 220 quid over here in the UK. Oh, sorry, Earth credits here in the UK. So it's still a lot cheaper than Nike's options like the VAPORFLY or the AlphaFly. And if you're after a carbon plate option for racing, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3 is probably the only one that's a little bit cheaper than this one, and perhaps with slightly better durability, though I prefer the foam in the ASICS lineup. Build quality out the box is excellent, as always with ASICS shoes. I haven't had a bad one, and they seem to use a better factory that are just taking a little bit more care. You haven't got loads of dodgy stitching, there's no sort of glue seepage. When you get them in hand, they do look absolutely stunning. I would suggest value is always about the runner's intention here. I would suggest saving these back for your premium runs, for your faster efforts, and for your races. Perhaps it's a more focused offering this time round for those who have faster cadence. It's probably not me. Legs are just too long and too big. As I said, seem to work better for me at marathon paces, so kind of glad I got both of these in the lineup. I can switch them up and still get some miles out of the Metaspeed Sky Paris too. That shoe and I have a really strong connection. This is similar, it's kind of like a sort of cousin, I suppose, and it's still fun to run in, and I have to say, really forgiving on the legs. So I think the shoe's design, features, and the ride really make it a great one to put into the rotation. If you don't want to fork out like 295 quid for an AlphaFly or 240 for the VAPORFLY, then I think this is a really good other sort of alternative. It's kind of like the Steve Malkmus of running shoes. Some people will get that analogy. I'll give it a 2.8 out of 3 for value, just because it's so damn good to run in, and it's built well. If I've totaled the scores up correctly, that gives us 11.5 out of 12 after my initial runs for the ASICS Metaspeed Edge Paris. Not quite the shoe that I loved in the Metaspeed Sky Paris, but at marathon effort it felt a little bit smoother to me, so round about that pace this one could come in really handy later in the year and perhaps next year. What have been your feelings on the Metaspeed Edge Paris or the Sky Paris too? Have you tried both models? Which one felt better for you? Let me know your views and opinions down in the comments. Musical interlude time. I've really been enjoying the Jack White album Fear of the Dawn recently. It's been playing on the record player pretty much constantly. I'm gonna probably listen to it again when I edit this video. Really like the intro track. It sort of sets the mood for the rest of the album. Wild fuzz, really funky machine gun like drums here and there, lots of effects, but always feels like they've chosen elements of instruments and different sort of sounds, and they haven't just thrown mud at the wall. There's very deliberate choices of different effects like distortion and overdrive. I particularly recommend the track Fear of the Dawn if you're going to do some like repeats or something, like 200 or 400 meter repeats. You'll feel like a horse like galloping towards its destination whenever you put this track on. The rhythm and the pace of the track's just absolutely pummeling. And then just where you feel like the wheels are starting to fall off towards the end of one of those reps, you've got this wild guitar solo with feedback and reverse sections and everything. It's absolutely awesome. Really love Jack White stuff. Always produces something a little bit different, a little bit from the side, you know, coming from left field. Go and check it out, people. Fear of the Dawn. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed my review of the ASICS METASPEED EDGE Paris today. Do hit that subscribe button, it really helps out, as does giving this video a thumbs up like. Drop us a super thanks as well to help support the channel on a more ad hoc basis. My name's Eddbud, and I'll be seeing you